Yes, welcome everyone. It's Cannabis News. I'm your host, Joe Klare. It's February 26th, 2020. The show, as always, is presented to you by the Marijuana Times. MarijuanaTimes.org is where you can find us. Click the video tab there to find this show. A lot of great articles as well. MarijuanaTimes.org, or simply search the Marijuana Times on your favorite search engine. Of course, MakeCannabisGreatAgain.com if you want the swag, if you want to look dope like me in this hat. Because you got to admit, I look pretty fly, and other 90s slang terms come to mind. Check us out. MakeCannabisGreatAgain.com to get that. Today, we're talking about the Elizabeth Warren plan to legalize cannabis. Also, some news out of Kentucky about medical marijuana, and some news out of Maine about the coming of recreational sales, the long-awaited coming of recreational sales in Maine. Some more waiting to do. All that's coming up. First, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Grow safe and poison-free with Natureside. Don't use harmful chemicals or banned pesticides. Use Natureside, whether you're using it to grow cannabis or whatever else you're growing. Natureside. Go check it out, Natureside, nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you for your continued support. They're awesome. First story by yours truly at marijuanatimes.org. The Elizabeth Warren plan to legalize marijuana. And as I mentioned in the article, in a nutshell, it's very similar to the Bernie Sanders plan. It's just, a couple months later and not as aggressive when it comes to the timeline. I guess you could be, trite and call it Bernie Sanders marijuana plan light, or Bernie light, if you will. I'm not going to deny it's a great phrase, Bernie light. But it's so similar to Bernie Sanders' plan, even down to the admonishment of, or having to mention that they're going to keep big tobacco, quote unquote, out of the cannabis industry. First of all, tobacco companies are already invested in the cannabis industry. And I don't understand. I get what happened with the tobacco companies back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s. They lied, they covered up, they didn't tell people that they knew it caused cancer, but they didn't tell people. Nothing of which is similar to cannabis. There are many other differences, like the fact that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other companies that are not tobacco related already in the cannabis space competing with these tobacco companies. But beyond that, the notion that, tobacco companies lied and made people sick and killed people, well, that can be said about a lot of industries. We're going to keep the pharmaceutical industry out of cannabis. If Lockheed Martin wants to make cannabis, we're going to keep them out of the industry. Their products have killed a lot of people. I don't understand. I don't understand what this is other than pandering to whatever specific voting bloc is like. Oh yeah, big tobacco. I guess whoever the people who see those truth commercials are like, yeah, man, that's awesome. I love those truth commercials. I don't know what this demographic is they're trying to reach with this. But first of all, if you don't want to buy marijuana from a company who makes tobacco or used to make tobacco or is going to make tobacco in the future, whatever, then don't. And don't tell me in this day and age you can't find out who makes what. Of course you can. It's called the internet. Check it out. In any case, if I want to go to the people who make Marlboro and buy cannabis products from them, if I'm an adult, that's my right as well. It's not your business. I'm sorry I keep harping on this, but it's very important. It's the linchpin of everything. Cannabis prohibition, the reason it's wrong, why we need to legalize everything comes down to one thing. It's none of your business. It doesn't matter if you don't think that I should buy marijuana from Big Tobacco. If I want to, I should be able to, because I'm not infringing on the rights of anyone else. It's not your business. If you don't want to, great. If you want to go on Facebook and say, hey, this company made these cigarettes, back in the day they did this, and now they're selling this, and you should stay away from it, by all means. I may even share it. I don't know. It depends on my mood that day. In the end, it's none of your business, and it's none of my business what you decide to do or what I decide to do, and vice versa. Don't worry about it. This fear of big tobacco is going to get into marijuana. Calm down. There's tons of companies already in the marijuana space, billion-dollar companies that have nothing to do with tobacco. and some might. So what? Don't smoke cigarettes if you don't want to. Don't smoke marijuana from cigarette companies. Don't smoke marijuana, period, if you don't want to. I don't care. It's not my business. I don't want to hear about it. That's the other thing I'm tired of. I'm tired of hearing people, I see it all the time, like this celebrity quit smoking weed. I don't care. So what? So what? Why is it my business? Why do I have to be worried about that? Some celebrity's going to, they're not going to smoke weed this year, or they've quit, or they start smoking again, or whatever. I don't care. Shut up. Quit talking so much about your personal business. I'm not worried about it. I don't want your business in my face. That's right. Anyway, continuing on, more on this theme, WKYT.com, out of Kentucky, Senate panel, more research needed before legalizing medical marijuana. That's right. That's right. And on the face of it, more research sounds like a good thing. We all want more research. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm tired of this notion that we can't, even something as benign as medical marijuana. And the medical marijuana legislation, HB 136 in Kentucky, is very restrictive. No smoking medical marijuana, no home growing medical marijuana, specific conditions from a handful of dispensaries across the state. That's it. One of the most restrictive programs in the country. But no, not even that is good enough. 1 week after the full House made a historic vote approving medical marijuana, Kentucky lawmakers again took up the topic. In Wednesday's discussions, lawmakers introduced another House bill that calls for more study and research into the uses of medical marijuana. The bill, primarily pushed by opposition to medical marijuana legalization, says there are too many unknowns in regards to cannabis and its potential medical uses, and states that more study is needed. Now, again, it sounds great. More research, more study, more, yes, all of that. I agree with all of that. Here's the problem. Well, there's several problems. But the main one comes back to the theme I've already been talking about. It's none of your business. If someone decides to use marijuana for medical reasons, they're not infringing on the rights of anyone else. They're not criminals because they're not engaging in criminal activity. They're not victimizing anyone in any way, shape, or form. But they're criminalized, and the idea is, well, we need to study more before we don't criminalize them. No, we don't. We don't need any study for that. We don't need any study at all, any research at all that will tell us that we shouldn't criminalize people who are not infringing on the rights of anyone else, who are not victimizing anyone in any way. We don't need research for that at all. First of all, this notion that there's not enough research in medical marijuana is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But yes, there should be more. That's great. Legalize it and research it all you want. Because one doesn't have anything to do with the other. But again, it goes back to this notion that these people got to make these decisions for us, these strangers in the state capitol that's removed from us. They don't face the consequences of our decisions. They don't have all the inputs that go into our decisions. But they're going to decide on their own whether or not we're allowed to make that decision, in this case, using cannabis for medical purposes. Strangers. No business whatsoever making that decision for us, but we've given so much control to these people that it comes naturally to them. Oh, well, we can't legalize that till we have more study. Well, no, you don't need any study at all. And it can be used by, again, like they point out, the opposition to medical marijuana to just drag this out. Well, we're cool. We get what you say, what you're saying. Medical marijuana, all that jazz, 90% approval in Kentucky, that's fine. But very reasonably, we're going to ask for a compromise and more study. Now, screw your compromise. Screw your compromise and screw you. To be quite honest, I'm sick of this. I'm sick. I need some medical marijuana. I'm so sick of this. I don't care what some D-bag in Frankfurt thinks about my choice of medicine. Okay? If I feel like the only way I can cure my ailment is to put a hammer and take a nail and to use the hammer to drive it through my hand, I should have that right. So to tell me that I can't smoke a joint because I can't get to sleep or my stomach hurts, shut up. Shut up. It is not your business. Study it all you want. But I have the right to use medical marijuana. Everyone has the right to use medical marijuana. Every adult has the right to use marijuana, period, because they're not infringing the rights of anyone else. It doesn't matter what you think or what state capital you think it in. Nothing qualifies you to make that decision. You have no right to make that decision. But this comes naturally to these people. Oh, we got to study it more. We got to study it more. Even if that were true, there's not enough research. Too bad. You don't need research to say that someone who chooses medical marijuana is not a criminal. Whatever you may think of medical marijuana itself. And I hate to be pessimistic about what's happening in Kentucky, but if the Senate were to surprise me and vote for medical marijuana and it goes to the governor and there's somehow this restrictive medical marijuana program in Kentucky, that's great. But I don't see it happening. There's just 90%, the poll from a couple weeks ago, 90% of Kentucky residents support medical marijuana. I don't know how you go from 90% support to, oh, well, we'll talk about it again next year, which is what happens. As I said, every year, all the activists, the veterans, everybody, they gather in Frankfurt, they do their testimony and talk to in front of committees, and they talk to legislators, and they go through the whole thing every year. And it gets a little closer and a little closer, but again, we have to beg people for permission to do something that's none of their business. And therein lies the problem. That's why I harp on the it's none of your business angle of the whole thing. It's the linchpin, as it were. It's the last story from WGME.com out of Maine. Maine currently has no recreational marijuana testing facility, says the state agency in charge of that. According to the Office of Marijuana Policy, Maine is months away from recreational marijuana sales. We're expecting stores to start opening up in late spring. Office of Marijuana Director and Engagement and Community Outreach Policy, David Heinrich said. Definitely by July. Was he fit that on a business card? Office of Marijuana Director of Engagement and Community Outreach Policy? It's going to be some small print. In total, State Department has received 93 store applications, with about 80 of them being currently reviewed for a conditional license. Heinrich says the recreational marijuana is required to be tested by the state before it can go to stores. In our adult use program, there is a section of the statute that requires mandatory testing of all marijuana products, he says. For medicinal products, it's on a voluntary basis. He says there's currently 6 testing facilities for medical marijuana, but the state doesn't have any recreational testing facilities as of yet. At least 4 of the testing labs for medical have expressed interest in moving to the adult use space, but today there are none. The Office of Marijuana Policy is currently processing 1 recreational marijuana testing application for Nelson Analytical in Kennebunk. We need more labs. Nelson Analytical Laboratory Director Lori Mailing said there's going to be a little bit of bottleneck there, but hopefully we can work with the state and other labs to get going. Maine is going to probably see what other states have seen. There's going to be a few dispensaries, few stores open up at first. There's going to be supply problems. There's going to be high prices, long lines, shortages, running out of product, things of this nature, and it's going to be up to the state government of Maine and this office to make sure that that doesn't last long. However much faith you have in that, I don't know. If you live in Maine, that's up to you. But it's because if you've been in Maine and you voted in 2016 for adult use marijuana, and it's 2020, and we're still talking about, hey, spring, man, recreational sales, thumbs up, fingers crossed, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe you're getting a bit cynical yourself when it comes to that because it's been so long. But all I can say is what I've been saying. It's coming. It's supposed to be on its way. I feel your pain. I know. I remember the night that Maine and Massachusetts and Nevada and California or whatever, and not California, but when those states in 2016 they passed recreational marijuana. California and Nevada and Massachusetts and Maine. I remember that night, and it was like, well, yeah, that was long ago. It was. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I am commiserating with you because it's It doesn't take that long. I mean, in all honesty, over 3 years. I understand the Governor LePage is a problem and all that, but it doesn't take that long. It's just not that difficult. People want to buy marijuana. You don't got to convince them at all. You just got to open the places to do it, and they'll buy it. It's if the variety and the convenience and the price is comparable to what they were getting in the illegal market, the illicit market, they'll buy it. I don't know what to say. I'll think of more stuff to say before the next episode of Cannabis News. We're here 5 days a week. Search the Marijuana Times on YouTube. Of course, marijuanatimes.org. You can find us there. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, for being an awesome sponsor. Thanks to all of you for continuing to spread the truth about cannabis with this show. We'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.